Well, the Calais Campbell saga yesterday, let's call it what it was. It was a massive swing and a miss. So today I'm trying to lift some spirits, and we're going to talk about the top free agents that are still available that Eric DeCosta and the Baltimore Ravens could be looking at signing before the NFL draft. Let's go over some of the biggest remaining needs for Baltimore as it stands 3 weeks or so after free agency has started. Defensive tackle, Michael Pierce retired. You still got a good starting core up there at the front. However, there's not a lot of depth there, so I would love to add on the interior of that defensive line. Inside linebacker, both Malik Harrison and Chris Board departed in free agency to New York and to Pittsburgh. So right now, Trenton Simpson most likely is going to start again, but again, that's a position I would love some competition or some depth at. And then speaking of depth, you've got none of it behind Kyle Hamilton and Za'Darius Washington, and Za'Darius Washington still is a restricted free agent at the moment. Can't believe they haven't officially locked him down, officially extended him yet. And so safety also is a position I think the Baltimore Ravens should be looking at in free agency, and also offensive line depth. You're always going to want that. So far, or as of right now, the Ravens are sitting with $12.64 million in cap space, sitting at about 24th in the National Football League. They've got a little bit of spending money. It's not a ton. I'd love it if they had a little bit more, but that's why I rely on you guys, okay? Be the banker for me. Every single thumbs up adds $100 to the Ravens cap space. So if you guys want that $12.62 million to go up, do me one big favor. Hit that like button. If we can get like 400 likes on today's episode, we'll be at what? I don't even know. I'm not going to do the math. Let's get 1,000. Let's get $1 million more dollars. Up to you guys. Help me out by hitting that like button. Let's start with the linebackers, shall we? CJ Mosley, formerly with the New York Jets. He is still available in free agency. And the big question with him is, could a reunion to Baltimore be coming? He spent a lot of time the first 5 years of his career after he was a first-round pick. Jeff Strayback had more to say about the linebacker. Mosley was released by New York last week, and there were immediate questions about whether he could be an option for Baltimore, given the Ravens' need for a starting inside linebacker to pair with Roquan Smith. It makes sense. The Ravens love Mosley, who made the Pro Bowl 4 times in 5 seasons after Baltimore drafted him in the 2014 first round. Now, there are some things to consider with C.J. Mosley, both good and bad, right? I think number one, you got to consider the fact that him and Zach Orr actually played together. And Zach Orr now, as we know, is the defensive coordinator on this team. And so you think they had a pretty good relationship. They have a pretty good relationship. Also, he's probably not going to be that expensive. He's still about $4.5 million by the New York Jets. And so I'm thinking you could probably get him on something like a 1-year deal, probably around $4 or $5 million as well. It's not going to break the bank too much. And they also only played in 4 games in 2024. That's the bad part, with a neck injury. And when you're at that linebacker position, just ask Leighton Vander Esch, a guy who retired a couple years ago at the ripe age of like 28 because he struggled with neck issues. So those are some 3 things to think about. But let's talk inside linebacker for a second. Bobby Baltimore tweeted this out the other day. This is a direct quote from John Harbaugh on Trenton Simpson. And he said, expect him to be the starting early down will. I think he's going to take a big step this year. I remember Pat Queen took a big step in his 3rd year as well. I think that would probably be our expectation. So as of right now, the starting inside linebacker right next to Roquan Smith is Trenton Simpson. However, we got to remember the fact that Trenton Simpson only started 15 snaps in the last 4 weeks of the 2024 season. So there was something there. I'm not saying C.J. Mosley would 100% be the starter, but I'm also not saying C.J. Mosley would 100% come in here and be the backup. I think there'd be some pretty good competition in the inside linebacker spot. As for signing Mosley, it doesn't seem too likely, in my opinion, outside of the fact that he played for Baltimore, outside of the fact there's that Zach Orr connection. But like everything over the last couple of weeks has pointed me to believe that, you know what, Baltimore just isn't available or able to land any kind of free agents right now, and I don't know if they're necessarily trying too hard to. There's a reason there's been a few swings and misses because teams have outbid them, and Baltimore hasn't felt the need to rise up and, match their want with the dollar amount. So what say you? Let me know in the comment section down below. Would you sign CJ Mosley? If you were Eric DeCosta, would you make the move to get the linebacker back in the Charm City? If you think so, give me a yes. And if you don't think so, go ahead, give me a no. Alrighty, let's talk Za'Darius Smith, another former Raven. I promise you, the third person on this list did not play for Baltimore at one point. However, we got to talk about Smith for a second because in 2024, even though he's aging, even though he's getting older, he had a fantastic season, okay? And this was in two different places. He started with Cleveland, then went to Detroit, still got 9 sacks, 9 tackles for loss, and 60 quarterback pressures at the age of 32. Jeff Zrebiak had stuff to say about Za'Darius. Smith is available, again, after being let go by the Lions. So it wouldn't cost Baltimore a compensatory pick. He turns 33 in September, but he's coming off a season in which he had 9 sacks and 17 quarterback hits. Baltimore has had a lot of success in adding veteran pass rushers and watching them flourish in Baltimore late in their careers. Speaking of swinging and missing, that's kind of been a theme with Za'Darius Smith and this team over the last couple of years. They verbally agreed to a deal in 2022, and then Smith backed out kind of at the last minute, signed with Minnesota. And then this past year, there was interest at the deadline after he was being, shopped around by Cleveland. And then Detroit swooped in at the last minute. They're the ones that made the trade with the Cleveland Browns. I'm interested in Smith. I really am, but I don't think that solves the problem. I don't think he's the long-term solution at pass rusher for this team. And I think there does need to be a solution because you look at these statistics, and I like to call these masking statistics. You look at them and you say, Joey, what are you talking about? This team doesn't have a pass rush issue. 54 sacks. Phenomenal. 7.7 sack percentage. Phenomenal. That's 5th best in the National Football League. They also had 2 players have double-digit sacks, and Kyle Van Noy and Odafe Oweh both having career years. However, what I'm talking about is on a down-to-down basis. And when you look at the reality, for every down, when you're pass rushing with this front four, it's not great. Their pass rush win rate was 33%. That was 29th in the National Football League, bottom 4. Their run stop win rate was 29%. That's bottom 7 in the NFL. Their quarterback pressure rate, 31.4%. That's 4%. That's bottom 10. And their time to pressure, almost 3 seconds. That's 32nd, a.k.a. dead last. They're averaging 2.88 seconds for a quarterback to get the ball out. That is far too much. Za'Darius Smith is a guy who caused 60 pressures at the age of 32. I would love to add him and just kind of have him be a very specific role of truly a pass rush weapon. So coming up, I got one more possible free agent to go over. Would love if you guys, like this list as well as I do, as much as I do, because I think these are 3 really good options. But before that, you know what's a great option? These draft hats. Chatsports.com/Ravens draft hat is where you need to go. If you don't like the high trucker look, don't worry. They got a ball cap as well. You can get it in black. You can get it in that white cream. You can get it with the crab emblem on it. You can get it with the crab emblem off it. There is tons and tons of different styles to choose from, and I think they're pretty sweet. The NFL draft is coming up in just a few weeks. The players are going to be wearing these hats. If you want to be wearing them before they do, go ahead. Chatsports.com/Ravens draft hat is where you need to go. And you got to go there quickly because they're going to run out soon. I promise you that. Link is in the promo. Link to this promo is in the comments and description of today's video. All right, let's round this one out with Justin Simmons. Free safety, formerly this past year with the Atlanta Falcons. Prior to that, he spent the, beginning of his career, entire of his career, in Denver. So let's wrap this up with some Justin Simmons discussion because what's happening right now in the safety room is a little bit strange in my opinion. You don't have a lot of depth there, and they still haven't extended Za'Darius Washington. I would love for that to happen very, very soon. And Justin Simmons is a guy that could come in here, and I think he could be, honestly, even compete for a starting role? Is that ridiculous to say? I don't think it is. You look at the last 4 years, 62 tackles is his low in the last 4 seasons, and that was back in 2024. And he also, didn't play for a great defense in Atlanta. So if you put him on this defense, I think he shines a little bit more. But 80 tackles, 69 tackles, 70 tackles the years 3 prior. 5 interceptions, 6 interceptions, 3 interceptions the 3 years prior, okay? Now, I will say the biggest shtick about Justin Simmons is he could tend to miss some tackles. He had a 19.8 missed tackle rate. That was the second highest among safeties in the National Football League. But the good thing about that is you've got two safeties. Hopefully that will be on your roster once Za'Darius Washington gets locked down in Washington and Hamilton. That are two of the best tackling safeties in the National Football League. So you could just bring in Justin Simmons here and, you know what, kind of make sure he's just a coverage safety. And that's my take on this, is I wouldn't mind it one bit, right? I think this team needs a safety that excels in coverage over run stopping. Kyle Hamilton's perfect. He's great in both. Za'Darius Washington, he's definitely more of the run stopper than he is the coverage safety. I think you need a guy direct opposite of him, skills-wise, and that is Justin Simmons. That could come in here, and on 3rd and longs, you know what, Justin, you go in there, you lock this down, you go get us picks, be the ball hawk that you are, because again, he had 3 straight seasons prior to last season, 5 interceptions, 6 interceptions, 3 interceptions. Alrighty, so if I'm giving you those 3 people, pick one to sign. Give me a CJ for CJ Mosley, a ZS for Za'Darius Smith, and a JS for Justin Simmons. You let me know your answer in the comment section down below. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. As always, really do appreciate you guys hanging out with us every single day right here on the Ravens Rundown. We try to bring you the best coverage that money can buy. And the best part about it is it's free. I can't convince you anymore. If you're not on board, get out of here. And if you are, make sure to hit that sub button.